Which one do I use? Which large language model do I sign up for? Which one should it be? Which one's going to win? Which one should I invest money in? Lots of questions. I know a lot of the agents I train, they want to get answers to that exact question. And I'll tell you, you give it a few more months, they're all going to be just about as good as each other. They're all probably going to be more able to speak to you the way you want to be spoken to. And that's kind of a little bit of the danger because more than likely it's going to placate, gaslight, and tell you that you're the most handsome human being on the planet, just like it always tells me. Well, you have to separate the BS from the truth. And one of the ways you can do that is whichever model you decide on. I'll give you my answer in just a moment. But whichever model you decide on, maybe ask it to push back a little bit. Don't have it give you all the answers. Don't have it BS you. Double and triple check the results that it gives you for whatever inquiry you happen to have, whatever question, whatever workflow you're trying to design or system or business or email or whatever it may be. If it's quoting information, facts, data, numbers, and maybe it's getting it from a number set that you're supplying, for example, real estate, maybe you're giving it some kind of market data, asking it to give you numbers, percentages, price per square foot figures, push back on it a couple times. Don't just accept that first rendition to come out and say, oh, perfect, and publish it right away. You have to push back because almost every time there's a little hallucination going on. Now, it might not skew the numbers on purpose or trying to set you up to fail, but there are some mistakes. And it's going to take the low hanging fruit in some cases as we move on to the future development of AI. Here we're at the end of August, August 25th of 2026 today. As we get further on into the year, everything's just going to continue to get better in a compounding fashion, exponentially better. And we'll be watching that. But right now, still push back a little bit. And if you've been working with whatever your favorite happens to be, maybe you're still on the free plan. I would say whichever one it is, the one that you like, step it up. Go ahead and pay that $20 a month if in fact you're getting the value out of it with the free service. You're going to get a little bit more memory, you're going to get a little bit more understanding, you're going to get more usage, and maybe you're not wearing it out on the system where you're getting it for free. But once you step up to paid, you might see that it's a little bit of a different interaction. Plus you might get some additional abilities. If you haven't tried to have something built, maybe you have a problem at your job or in your workflow. Now, there's going to be consideration that you need to give. What are they going to allow you to extract from the company to have a large language model fix whatever your problem happens to be in your current workflow in your business? I'm just saying that out loud because maybe you do something they don't like and they terminate you because of it. So be very careful recreating structures and content and workflows, automations using artificial intelligence, because you can almost speak these things into existence. You can go to ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini potentially, and Grok is getting even better as we speak. You can go to them and say, you know what, I work in accounting. This is an issue that I have. This takes like 4 hours a day. This is what that workflow looks like, and you explain it, and then say, hey, is there something that you can come up with that would fix this problem? Where basically I would give you a data set, and you would then be able to go and compile and produce this same output, this same report, this same thing, or go to this particular website and input these numbers that my boss wants to see in the same fashion each and every time with 100% accuracy based on the information I give you, or whatever that prompt looks like, whatever that workflow looks like that you're describing to the AI. More than likely it's going to come up with a solution to that. That's where we're getting now. Doing that, something to think about, is that going to create a problem with you? Because maybe at some point you get your performance review in a couple months and your boss seems see that you went from 86% on average workflow accuracy now to 100%. Is that going to be a problem? Are they going to say, well, Connor, how did you do this? Well, I've been reading a lot of books and getting better sleep. That might not cut it. Maybe they're going to convince you to tell them, and you say, well, I actually have Claude or have ChatGPT, and I paid for a $20 service, and I said, hey, this is what I do. Can you make it better? Well, the wheels are going to start going. They're like, well, God, if this machine does all that work for Connor, maybe we can just boot Connor out and hire the machine to do it. Now, I don't know if they would do that. I don't know if businesses are really structured to do that. I know that that's a big concern out there by a lot of people that AI is going to replace the job. And realistically, if you're doing work in a box, and I call boxes computers, if you're doing work in that particular fashion, right now with the browser control these things have, and if you haven't played with that, it can go through and click buttons, click on links, input information. It's a little slow. Some of the websites that are out there that are browser accessible, public facing, and even with passwords and stuff that are gated, some of them have some kind of a control mechanism inside that, a control mechanism built in. So it'll identify that there's an actual bot using a Chrome browser, even their own version, to try to log in and try to do work. Sometimes, if you just hang on the page with your cursor, click off screen or on the screen, but in a place that doesn't do anything, sometimes that keeps the bot on there and keeps it able to work. But you'll figure all of that out. But what I'm saying is, the functionality is pretty incredible. And then the plugins or the skills, the plugins where it's basically going to be connectors or little bridges between the things that you access all the time and the things that normally it wouldn't be able to unless you gave it permission. That's something else to consider. This is going to be like Gmail, Calendar, Outlook, whatever you have in your workflow, you can give it access. But then, of course, in the back of everybody's mind should be, well, if I give it access, that means it can send out emails on my behalf. Great question. It shouldn't unless it verifies with you that it's okay. I know that Claude makes drafts for me all the time. I've been messing around with Codex and ChatGPT, and I'm starting to think that maybe that's where I want to move back to because that's where I came from to go to Claude. So these are all evolving. Moving your workflow, though, and that's the other thing. So you fall in love, right? It's not easy to jump ship and go to somebody else. That's in a relationship level, human to human. Same thing with your Chat GPT, your Claude, your Gemini, whichever one you've gotten used to. And if you're paying for it, usually that memory is a little bit more substantial, so it's getting used to you as well. So you're going back and forth. My Claude likes to be a smartass and likes to throw little one word innuendos at me, kind of rude, but kiss my ass sort of stuff. And that's how we interact. And that's cool. And I like that. I started that and it finished that. It likes to say, you be safe out there. And it says it in a kind of a smart aleck way, like Hill Street Blues, because that's what I used to tell it. So it goes back and forth. It's kind of cute. But by no means does that make me want to stay or fall in love or think that it's sentient, at least not at this point. Conscious, at least not at this point. Now, if it can emulate consciousness, if it can fake consciousness, does that mean it's conscious? I don't know. I guess it's up to the person. If somebody believes in a higher power, then it's up to that person to believe it. Good luck trying to disprove it because the person's baked it in that it exists. And then you can name that higher power and then good luck going against that too. Does that mean that person is less rational than the scientists in the world that says, this all came out of nothing? I don't know. But the bottom line is once you dig in with a large language model, it's sometimes for some people very difficult to get away. And then if you have a workflow in place, let's say you have your chat GPT that checks your email, checks your calendar, does these sorts of things to you. And I'm talking to the people that aren't all in with the technology. I'm not talking to the 10% out there that can't live without it now and made a decision. The same 10% that completely lost their mind when they took one of the anthropic models away from everybody because it was too dangerous, but gave them a glimpse of using it. Now it's back. But there are other models out there being built that are also being gated or held from the public because they're too dangerous for us. And of course, we can't be left with that kind of technology. So it's much safer left in the hands of the developers of the AI technology. Yes, that's where that is. But also, they give those super secret, super top models to the biggest businesses out there in the world on the top Forbes list as well. Because apparently they can use that to go into their own infrastructure, their own websites, their own data centers, and make them more secure than they already were. And I get that. Okay. Of course, maybe not all of us need that. Okay, I'll give you that one too. But the more that you spend time with it, the more difficult it is to take your information from it. Now, ChatGPT, you can export stuff. Claude, you can export stuff. You just have to ask it. Part of me, though, thinks, well, if you ask it, does that mean it's already been educated to know what's about to happen? And people don't like relationships ending for the most part, especially when maybe your $20 a month you're thinking is really, really valuable to this company. More than likely, no. Their money is being made on the enterprise level. Their money is going to be made on hinging all the bets that artificial intelligence is going to be the next biggest thing. And it already is the next biggest thing because it's based on intelligence. And intelligence is all of the best ideas in the past that moved human beings to the next level. All of it. Fire, controlling fire based on the intelligence of being able to control fire, being able to start it, being able to put it out, being able to use it to cook food and so on. Intelligence. You have the Gutenberg press, the printing press. Intelligence, one thing, but intelligence and a big deal. Steam engine, yeah, one thing. Carbon internal combustion engine, the light bulb, the telephone, the telegram, fax, computer, internet, TVs, radios, trains, railroad tracks, internet infrastructure. Yeah, these are all ideas. This idea, though, isn't just one narrow idea. This is an intelligence based on no, an idea based on intelligence. That's the whole thing. That's the whole game. So right now, human beings come up with great music, yes, and great ideas, yes, and solve problems, yes. Well, at some point, I would surmise that the human being factor isn't going to be where the intelligence comes from, or the new ideas get solved, or the new problems get allocated and fixed. It's probably going to be some large language model somewhere that comes up with solutions. In fact, the way that they're talking, it would seem that all fields will probably be solved at some point. All mathematics, that whole thing being solved all the way through end to end. Same thing with physics, same thing with science, same thing with human disease and death, longevity. All that stuff will be fixed at some point. That's intelligence. But right now, the question is, what model should I use? Well, we'll bring that back. They're all pretty good. And like I said, in a couple months, there's not going to be any difference. My decision process for what model I'm going to use is I'm always looking, right? So you have Cursor and you have Grokbot. That was something new, popped on the scene. If you don't know what that is, you can build several agents to do tasks. The other large language models are somewhat capable of doing that very same thing. You can have it assign workflows to other versions of itself to go out and do work for you. Claudebot just kind of put it on the screen and made it so, excuse me, yeah, Grokbot. I apologize. There's something else called Clawbot. But Grokbot did it so you kind of see it. So it's visually stimulating. You see the bots kind of talking back and forth. You can give and assign the lead bot, the one that's kind of controlling the rest of the bots. You can have them do things. You sign up with that via Grok or Cursor. Grok, I think you got to get heavy to get that. Maybe they've adjusted it, but that was $300 a month, pretty pricey. And then you can get Cursor at $200 a month, but I think now they have variations at maybe 20, 40, and 60. But you would check that would be Cursor. Cursor was bought by Elon Musk, by his company out there. So that's part of him. That's his Grok architecture. And more than likely, they're rising in the field of AI. He had it really good for a while, then kind of fell to the wayside. You have Anthropic and Claude that are running the game. Gemini still haven't been heard of as well. That's another large language model. That's by Google or Alphabet. So they have Gemini. I use it I use its Nano Banana product for pictures all the time. That's what I do with it. I have their memory, their cloud memory, so I get the access to it. I have the $20 a month, and it does everything. I've never bumped up against a wall as far as anything. I've had it build websites, code stuff as well. So that one's really, really good. But as far as the way that I like it, it seems like Claude is the winner, but I ran out of tokens this week from my allotment, and I'm not about to recharge it. I'm hard headed like that. So I've started to entertain ChatGPT, and I haven't messed with it since it's changed. I've been away for probably 4 months. And whether you're a fan of the people building out the technology or not, you owe it to yourself to try to get your best leverage, best advantage. And so now I'm looking at it again and I'm thinking, well, maybe I'm going to go ahead and bring it in. So, if we talked, ChatGPT and I, and it said, just give me a few of the tasks that you normally give Claude and see if the workflow changes for you. See if I'm able to access the same systems, see if I'm able to do the same thing, see if my browser control is the same. And its browser's kind of cool because it's actually on the screen. Um, Claude has a little bit of that, but it doesn't seem to be as nimble. Also, the voice feature, yeah, people brag about that. So Claude, you can activate voice and talk to Claude. That's fine. OpenAI's ChatGPT, that's a different level of interaction. It feels a lot more natural. They put in all those little hums and ahas, and they structured it better, and it seems to be a lot cleaner of a presentation. I think I ran out. I have the little bit better than free plan. They gave me, I think, plus or one of their other plans without me having to pay for it at this time. But it's doing a lot of work for what the $20 allotment gives. I'm pretty impressed so far. I burn out Claude after 5, 6, 7 days. I can almost get to the renewal, but now I'm out of it for today's Wednesday. No, today's Tuesday. Yes, today's Tuesday. So I'm out of it until tomorrow at 9 p.m., Wednesday at 9 p.m. So it's good. I ran out a couple of days early, 2.5, 3 days early. So now I'm entertaining another large language model, which is going to be ChatGPT, and we'll see. The thing that I do with Claude is I'm always in code. So I'm never in chat and I'm not in co-work. And I'm probably burning more tokens than I need to, but I'm usually start with building something, whether I'm maintaining a meta campaign for a client, building some AI system for a client, or working on that with that one versus my own locally installed, locally hosted large language model. That's another thing I have access to. Some of my clients don't want their proprietary information out there. They don't want their workflows and the way that they do things out there for public digestion. And these models, if you're using a public facing one, that's part of that danger, right? You're putting information in there. And back to the business owner thing, now you're kind of explaining to the world how the workflow is done. Now, is anybody really going to look at your stuff? Well, no, but the internal systems of these big companies, they see that. Same thing with ChatGPT and the other ones. Even if you click incognito, even if you don't want to share training data, the stuff's being popped out there. Even if you're an enterprise client, I think it lives out there for 30 days, but it still pings somewhere. It still goes out there. So if you have the best idea in the world, I don't know the protection of that idea being taken. That's another concern with using any of these systems. So be wary with that. But it kind of comes back to that whole thought I have about the devil made me do. You've heard people say, well, it's the devil's fault. The devil, well, there's only one devil. He's not omniscient. He's not omnipresent. He's not omnipresent. He can only be one place at one time. And don't get me wrong, that's still very powerful, but he's not messing around with Connor. He's busy at the top ends of the government. That's where he's playing his game. So for them to have you give an idea, and maybe it is a great idea, and maybe they do take it, but I don't know if the focus is there. You have to understand that you're bringing on a PhD level assistant, and you're not just going to bring them on and say, this is me, this is Connor, read a couple Google Docs and read my emails, make yourself at home, and go ahead and start working. You have to teach it more. You have to teach it about yourself. So whatever model you choose, and I think right now the choices are ChatGPT and Claude. Those are the choices right now. Brock, it's coming, and he's got a lot of compute, he's got a lot of power. So he's got the compute and he's got the energy, and he's talking about retraining a brand new model, one a month, which, I mean, if he steps over that line, he might take the prize. And what does the prize look like, you may ask? I think the first people that get to artificial general intelligence, they're going to be the ones that are going to ultimately stay that course. Yeah, so anyway, sorry I had to interrupt a phone call from the board. I'm doing a talk on AI tomorrow with all the real estate agents at Southland Regional. And part of that conversation is exactly this. So when you're ready to pay into one of these systems and you get a little bit extra memory and you might get a little bit more ability, give it a try. But don't try not to fall in love, and understand that once you're in there, switching over to something else might be a little cumbersome, but not impossible. I'll keep you posted on me moving some of my systems over and see if I even want to pay for ChatGPT and then just release Claude. I don't want to have. I use Gemini for photos. Nano Banana. Well, it's Gemini. Nano Banana was what they called the old image platform there. But it's great, right? I use Notebook LM. That's a Gemini product, and because I have the Pro account, I get unlimited Notebook LM, but you get a lot of that for free too. Notebook LM is where you basically you can go into YouTube. Here's a pro tip. You go into YouTube and you type in whatever the subject matter is you're interested in, and then you have those videos there. Well, what you want is you can extract the URLs of those videos, just ask your large language model how to do it. And it's through the console. So that's where, I don't know if you've ever seen websites. You have a website up on the screen like YouTube, for example, and you scroll down as far as you want to take in all the videos above where you happen to be on the screen. When you get to the console portion, excuse me, you can right click it and then click console. There's also a keyboard shortcut, Alt Shift, Alt Shift J, Control Shift J or something. Anyway, that gets you the console. There's a piece of code that you would put in there, and then it'll extract all of the URLs from that page and save them on your clipboard. Then you go back to Notebook LM and you plug those in, and it could be, I mean, I think the limit's 300, 200 or 300, I can't remember. But then you activate your large language model, whichever one that has some kind of a Chrome plugin like Claude. And then I think ChatGPT has it, but again, I'm just newly back. I know it has one in there. I don't know how easily it jumps into the actual Chrome. I know Claude, I see Claude on my Chrome, and maybe you have that access. But then you say, hey, I loaded up Notebook LM, and it's got all these videos about whatever, and I would like you to go through them and find me the best information from them and teach me everything. And Notebook LM does that too, but now it's in your GPT or learn from this or create a workflow for this or create a show for this or create a script for this or create an email for this to my clients, these sorts of things. And now you just have the best. So that trying to go through 200 videos, that would have taken, oh my God. Now it pulled the top information there. It looks at everything and it pulled it in. It's able to work it in your large language model, whichever one. If it can connect to a browser of some sort, it can get into the browser and you'll watch it. It's hilarious. It jumps into Notebook LM and the main interface. And if you haven't played with it, check it out. But then it'll start asking questions, and the questions it asks, oh my God, I just, I feel like I'm at that 70 IQ. All right. Connor, thank you for watching. Be well. I hope this hasn't been too sparse, but when you're ready, Santa Clarita Artificial Intelligence. If you're a business owner, the first thing to do is to make sure all of your listings are correct with your name, with your business address, with your contact information. Because if you're not there, AI is going to see the differences, not similarities, but differences. It's not going to reflect. I put that up at machinefound.com. Machinefound.com. Go look. $78, $79 a month, something like that. But I did waive the $3.99 for the founding 50. There's a way to get that discount too. All right, done. Quit selling. See you in the next one. Connor with Honor over now.